G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, feel free to follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters, and you can like the show, you can share the show amongst your mates as well, and you can give me a 5-star rating, which would be amazing for the algorithm. So today's episode is just a little quick check-in just to see how things are going. And overall, things are going pretty good. Mood-wise, we've been pretty good, pretty stable, which is good. There's been no sort of, extremes to report. My dedication to not drinking has continued. I think we're up to 3 and a bit weeks now, which is great news. That's good as well. Very, very busy though. Very busy. It's coming to that time of year. But I've got a lot of things going on, which is, it's quite stressful. But at the same time, this is exactly what I want. So, for example, the project that I'm working on at the university is going well. My input has been valued as a lived or living experience sort of expert, as I like to think of myself as. So that's really good. It appears too, although this is sort of under wraps, that another project, the original one we were going to do, may be getting some grant money as well, which means yours truly will be back on the books again, possibly as an associate investigator. So slowly but surely, I am climbing that ladder, which is great. Although it's not really about climbing the ladder for me. It's about, being able to use my story for good, like this podcast and the presentations I do. This is just, I suppose, an extension of that, but it's one hell of an extension of that, that's for sure. Because it really allows me to sort of, be on par with some amazing academics and offer things that they don't have the ability to offer. That's a pretty special feeling. So that is pretty cool. So more on that later when because it's all under embargo or whatever they reckon at the moment. So can't talk too much about it, but exciting times ahead, that's for sure, for the new year as far as my work with the University of Newcastle goes. Quickly on my mood, as I said, my mood's been pretty good. We're still having these moments though where we just dip so suddenly, so quickly and so intensely. A lot of these dips are only lasting 5, 10, 30 minutes at a time maybe, but they're just still so severe. So again, it's a reminder that these sorts of negative thoughts are still floating around, unfortunately. But the good news is we're getting a lot better at pushing them into their corner, which is good. Which is good because I haven't really focused on that in therapy. My focus in therapy, as you may have heard from some of the previous episodes, has been more about the big picture sort of things, the big questions of life. We haven't really been looking at the day-to-day sort of little nuances that could use straightening out. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's, as we know, mental health is very, very complex, and my manifestation and presentation of mental health certainly is complex as well. No question. We are also, I am also very, very close to trying now to make the leap into the world of mental health, actual 9 to 5, Monday to Friday career in mental health. I think the time has come. I think we're stable enough and have the confidence and the belief that potentially I have the ability as well to offer some really good things in the mental health space in more of a full-time capacity. So that is exciting. We haven't quite sent off the resumes yet, but we're getting very close, and that is pretty cool. One thing, though, that could be looked as a regression, but I'm not looking at it that way. I definitely think this is a bit like a tune-up. So the whole ISMU thing, I have a meeting with them on the 3rd of January. That's the Intermediate Stay Mental Health Unit. I'm probably going to get admitted again for the 6 weeks, with the really clear goal to get these medications sorted, because I'm now on another medication. I'm back on clonidine or catapress. And the reason for that is because of the motor tics that I've been having, which have been quite severe, which put me in a hospital, what was it, last week or the week before last? which wasn't resolved, of course, because they assumed I was there for mental health reasons when I wasn't. I was there for my motor tics, but anyway, whatever. I got to meet some nice people in the psych ward, which was great, but the whole time I'm thinking, this isn't why I'm here this time. I'm here because of these tics and no one's bloody taking it seriously. Anyway, so clonidine is one of the medications that can be used for motor tics, and I think it's working reasonably well. Been on it before, and I didn't think it did much, but this time I think it's doing a little bit more, which is great. And it's also a blood pressure medication, and because of all the stimulants like caffeine that I have every day, my blood pressure tends to get pretty high throughout the day. So this will also help the blood pressure as well. Yes, probably I should cut out the energy drinks and the coffees, the triple shot coffees and the pre-workout, but at least in the meantime, before I'm able to achieve that massive goal, this Catapress will help. The thing is, though, we're on 8 medications now. So I think it's 8. Let me see. I'll go through it again. What do we got? Clomipramine, lamotrigine, quetiapine, modafinil, pregabalin, propranolol, clonidine, and Viagra when needed. So, that's a lot of pills. It's a lot of side effects. Like, my dry mouth has been horrendous at present, absolutely horrendous. And it's because about 5 of these medications have as their main, or one of their main symptoms is dry mouth. So you can imagine they're compounding each other and they're causing me great difficulty to get my amazing words out. So it's frustrating, but at the same time, if I have to put up with dry mouth to be mentally well, that's well and truly worth it. That's for sure. The other thing is, I can't remember if I mentioned this, but I presented at a prevention in practice seminar here in Newcastle, but was streamed and people come from all over Australia to attend. It was a really big gig. It was a big honour and privilege to be able to first off be invited, but then also provide the acknowledgement of lived and living experience. The video of my little spiel has come through, and I'm going to post it on my Instagram at some point. And I'm also going to do a bit of a running commentary on it because, I don't know, maybe I must view things differently, especially, obviously I do, but especially when it comes to the self, because I had a bit of a look before and I had to turn it off because I thought I was doing an absolutely rubbish job and I just couldn't look at it anymore. But on the day when I finished the presentation, little spiel, little introduction that I did, multiple people throughout the day come up and said how good of a performance that I gave. So I don't know, maybe I'm so out of touch with reality when it comes to myself that, I don't know, the things that I think I'm going hopeless at, maybe I'm actually going half decent at. And one thing a psychologist once upon a time said to me, and it's so true, which is instead of listening to that, well, let's say inner critic, that biased thinking inside our heads, why don't we look externally and look at the evidence that's coming from the external sources, the objective sources. And the response was overwhelmingly positive. So I'm using those positive comments to really, use as evidence. I've said this before, but I'm still doing it every day, using it as evidence to try and push this inner critic back in its corner, which is proving very difficult. But I'll tell you, we're in the fight and we're going to get there. Watch out, inner critic, that's for sure. I don't think there's anything else to report at this stage. One exciting thing that will be happening, I hope soon, I really do, is the intake interview series where I interview other people about their stories and how they are travelling, how they've been able to recover, what's worked, what's not, and what's sort of made them who they are. I think it's going to offer great insights because although I'd like to think this podcast so far offers some great insights, it is still only my story. And although I can wear many different hats when it comes to mental health and mental illness, it's still only my perspective and my insights. So I really want to get some guests on the show. I've been saying this for a long time now, so we can really broaden that scope of insight even more. And the good news is, there's good and bad news. The good news is the first interview's been recorded. But the problem is, my friend who I recorded, I won't say a name or anything, I don't want to spoil it or anything like that, but I'll tell you, it is one hell of a story. Blows mine way out of the water, trust me, it's great. And especially how she's been able to recover, what an inspiration. And that is why I've chosen my good friend to go first, because I'll tell you, she is going to set the standard. She sets the standard for living. It's unbelievable. Anyway, the problem is her. So, I've got a microphone on. She's got a microphone on. Her recording is as clear as day. It is perfect. Whereas me, I sound like I'm trapped down a well or something. I don't know. So a part of me sort of wants to upload her recording. You can still hear me in the background asking questions and commenting. But at the end of the day, it's about her. It's not about me. So I'm wondering if maybe I'll just upload the audio that's come from her microphone and see if that works. It's difficult though, because, it's one thing to talk about my own story and, edit bits here and there, whatever, just get it uploaded, who cares? But other people's stories, it's an honor and a privilege for me to hear their stories and what they've been through and how they look after themselves today. But it's even more of a privilege to be able to sit down and interview them and then put them up on this podcast. And I'm not going to do a half-assed job with these interviews, because everybody's stories deserve the best that at least I can provide. So there'll be no shortcuts, and they're going to be high quality because they deserve it. These people deserve it. They are so inspirational and they've been through so much, and I can't wait to share their stories with you guys, because I'm telling you, if you think my story's sort of motivating or insightful or whatever, mate, you've heard nothing yet. There is so much more to come, and it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. All right, that's about it for me today. Just a quick little check-in. There is a new episode coming very soon on my the episode I've just done previously about going to hospital again because of my motor tics. I've actually been doing a lot of research, and I've got this really good episode, I think, which is all about motor tics and Tourette syndrome. So if that's something that interests you or interests somebody else that you may know, I would highly recommend listening to it, because I've put a lot of work into it and I think it's going to come out really well. So that'll be out in the next day or two. Motor tics and Tourette syndrome. So very good stuff. All right, well, thank you as always for listening. I do appreciate it. You can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. Feel free to reach out. And other than that, I'll see you next time. See you later.